The Zephyrian High Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Kextai's report reached its conclusion.
The massive crystalline walls that had witnessed centuries of galactic politics now trembled with an emotion rarely felt in these halls: fear. "You're telling us," Council Elder Vexera's voice carried across the vast space, her translucent blue form shimmering with distress, "that an entire species has achieved interstellar travel without any of our detection networks identifying them?" Admiral Kextai, a towering figure from the warrior race of Thulkari, his forearms crossed in a gesture of grim confirmation, nodded slowly.
"Not only that, Elder. They've colonized 17 systems in what we believed was empty space.
Our long-range scouts report massive industrial complexes, defensive installations, and fleets that..." He paused, his voice dropping to an almost whisper, "rival our own in size." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien languages. Representatives from across the Galactic Federation spoke at once, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of panic. Clicking mandibles, harmonic tones, electrical pulses, and telepathic bursts filled the air as dozens of species tried to process this information. Council Elder Zyxoth, whose gas form shifted between colors as his emotions changed, spoke through his translation device. "In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, no species has achieved this level of development without our knowledge."
"How is this possible?"
"They call themselves humans," Admiral Kextai continued, activating a holographic display in the center of the chamber. The image showed a bipedal species, unremarkable in appearance compared to the diverse forms of life represented in the Council.
"Carbon-based, oxygen-breathing, originating from a planet they call Earth in what we designated as Sector 7 Alpha."
Elder Mordun, whose rock-like exterior housed a brilliant computational mind, processed the data streams flowing from the display.
"Their technological advancement curve is impossible.
According to our models, they should still be discovering fire-based energy sources. Instead, they're manipulating matter at the quantum level and have developed faster-than-light travel using principles we don't understand."
The holographic display shifted, showing images captured by Zephyrian scout ships from the edges of human space. Massive space stations that dwarfed even the largest Federation constructs.
Fleets of vessels with sleek, aggressive designs that spoke of a species born for conflict.
Cities on airless moons, enclosed in shimmering energy fields that created artificial atmospheres.
"Their expansion pattern is unlike anything we've seen," Admiral Kextai explained, manipulating the display to show a three-dimensional map of human territories.
"They don't just colonize habitable worlds.
They terraform dead planets, build cities inside asteroids, and create orbital habitats in systems with no planets at all.
They adapt to any environment rather than seeking environments that suit them." Elder Vexera leaned forward in her floating meditation pod. "What do we know of their intentions? Have they shown any awareness of the Federation?"
"That's where the situation becomes more concerning," the Admiral replied. "Our scouts observed several encounters between human exploratory vessels and ships from species on the Federation's outer rim. In every case, the humans demonstrated superior tactical awareness, advanced defensive capabilities, and weapons technology that..."
He hesitated.
"Speak plainly, Admiral," Elder Zyxoth demanded, his gaseous form shifting to deep red.
"In a confrontation with a Kethmori destroyer squadron 3 cycles ago, a single human vessel disabled all 7 ships without destroying them.
The humans then provided medical assistance to injured crew members and shared advanced medical technology before departing.
When the Kethmori vessels were recovered, their crews reported that the humans had somehow analyzed their entire technological base during the brief encounter." The chamber fell silent again.
The Kethmori were known as one of the most advanced military species in the galaxy, their destroyer squadrons capable of devastating entire star systems.
Elder Mordun's rocky surface crackled with electrical discharges as he processed this information. "They demonstrated restraint.
This suggests either supreme confidence in their abilities or a moral framework that values life above tactical advantage."
"Both possibilities are troubling," Admiral Kextai agreed.
"A species with overwhelming military superiority that chooses restraint is either highly evolved or is hiding something.
Our analysis suggests they could have easily destroyed the Kethmori squadron."
The holographic display changed again, this time showing detailed scans of human technology. Ships that seemed to bend space around them, energy shields that operated on principles the Federation's best scientists couldn't understand, and weapons that appeared to manipulate the fundamental forces of physics.
How many of them are there? Elder Vexera asked. Conservative estimates put their population at over 50 billion across their 17 colonized systems. But that number is growing rapidly.
They're not just expanding through natural reproduction, they're developing life extension technologies that are allowing them to maintain active populations far longer than any known species. Elder ZYXOth's form shifted through a spectrum of colors as he processed the implications. A species of 50 billion individuals with advanced technology and apparent military superiority. If they decided to expand aggressively, the Federation's combined fleets would be outnumbered 3-1, Admiral Kextai confirmed. And that's assuming our weapons could even penetrate their defensive systems. The chamber's atmospheric processors worked overtime as the stress responses of dozens of different species changed the air composition. Some representatives secreted pheromones of fear, others released electrical discharges that spoke of panic, and several of the more fragile species began protective coloration changes.
Elder Vexera's voice carried a note of resignation. What does Intelligence Command recommend? Admiral Kextai's forearms moved in a complex gesture of uncertainty. Commander Yoltar's analysis suggests 3 possible approaches. First, immediate diplomatic contact to establish peaceful relations and assess their intentions.
Second, a preemptive military response while we might still have some advantage in coordination and experience. Third, withdrawal from the Outer Rim systems and establishment of a defensive perimeter around core Federation worlds. A retreat, Elder Mordun stated flatly.
You're suggesting we abandon 17% of Federation territory without a fight?
I'm suggesting we avoid a conflict we cannot win against a species whose intentions we don't understand, the Admiral replied.
Every analysis we've run shows the same result.
In a direct military confrontation, the Federation would cease to exist. The weight of this statement settled over the chamber like a gravity field.
For 3 millennia, the Galactic Federation had been the supreme power in their region of space.
They had absorbed dozens of younger species, mediated conflicts between star systems, and maintained peace through a combination of diplomatic skill and overwhelming military superiority. Now they faced the possibility that their entire civilization could be swept away by a species they had never heard of until 3 cycles ago. Elder Vexera's form pulsed with the deep blue light that indicated profound thought among her people.
Have the humans made any attempts to contact us directly?
No, Admiral Kextai replied. But our analysis of their expansion patterns suggests they're aware of our existence. They've carefully avoided systems with significant Federation presence, and their exploration routes seem designed to map our territorial boundaries without direct confrontation. They're studying us, Elder ZYXOth observed, his gaseous form now a swirling mixture of colors that indicated complex emotional states.
Just as we're studying them. The question, Elder Mordun interjected, is what conclusions they've reached about us. Admiral Kextai activated a new section of the holographic display, showing a detailed timeline of human expansion.
Based on their movement patterns and the timing of their technological developments, our analysts believe the humans achieved faster than light travel approximately 200 cycles ago. They've spent that entire time in careful, methodical expansion and technological development.
200 cycles of expansion and we never detected them, Elder Vexera mused.
Either they possess stealth technologies far beyond our comprehension, or they deliberately avoided detection. Both possibilities suggest a level of strategic thinking that surpasses anything in our experience, the Admiral agreed.
The humans aren't just technologically advanced, they're thinking on timescales that dwarf our own planning horizons.
The holographic display shifted to show comparative analyses between human and Federation technologies. In every category, energy generation, materials science, computing power, weapons technology, defensive systems, the humans showed significant advantages.
How is this possible? Elder ZYXOth demanded. How does a species achieve this level of advancement without any contact with galactic civilization?
Elder Mordun's computational processes hummed audibly as he analyzed the data streams.
Perhaps that's exactly how they achieved it.
Every species that joins the Federation adopts our technological standards, our scientific paradigms, our ways of thinking about problems.
The humans developed in complete isolation.
They had to solve every challenge themselves, develop their own solutions, create their own paths forward.
You're suggesting that contact with galactic civilization actually limits technological development? Elder Vexera asked.
I'm suggesting that the humans represent what a species can achieve when it has no choice but to innovate constantly for survival, Elder Mordun replied.
Look at their expansion pattern again. They don't colonize planets that are already suitable for life.
They take dead worlds and make them live. They don't build ships designed to fight other ships, they build ships designed to survive anything the universe can throw at them.
Admiral Kextai nodded grimly.
Our combat analysts reached similar conclusions.
Human military doctrine isn't based on fighting other species.
It's based on conquering hostile environments, surviving impossible odds, and adapting to any threat. They don't build weapons to kill enemies, they build weapons to solve problems.
And, right now, Elder Vexera said quietly, we might be their biggest problem. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in.
The Galactic Federation, which had maintained peace through strength for 3 millennia, was suddenly faced with the possibility that they were not the dominant power in their region of space. Worse, they might be seen as a threat by a species whose technological and military capabilities far exceeded their own.
We need more information, Elder Zyxoth finally declared. Send diplomatic envoys. Establish communication protocols. Find out what the humans want. And, if they want us gone? Admiral Kextai asked. The question hung in the air like a death sentence.
For the first time in their history, the Galactic Federation faced the possibility of their own extinction at the hands of a species they had never seen coming. Elder Vexera's voice carried a note of steel as she responded. Then, we learn whether the humans are as merciful as they are powerful. The chamber began to empty as representatives returned to their ships to carry word of humanity to their home worlds. Across the galaxy, ancient civilizations would soon grapple with the reality that their age of dominance might be coming to an end. In the depths of space, human ships continued their patient expansion, unaware that their mere existence had shattered the confidence of the greatest galactic civilization in known history. The age of human space was beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same.
Captain Saracen stood on the observation deck of the UES Harmony, watching the alien fleet approach through the viewport.
12 ships of various designs, each one representing a different species from what her people had come to call the Galactic Federation. The ships maintained a respectful distance, their communication arrays broadcasting peaceful intentions on multiple frequencies. Dr. Martinez, what's your assessment? She asked without turning from the viewport. Dr. Elena Martinez, the ship's xenobiologist and lead diplomatic advisor, consulted her tablet. Based on their approach patterns and communication protocols, they're following what appears to be established first contact procedures. The lead ship is broadcasting mathematical sequences, prime numbers, and basic physics constants.
Classic non-threatening communication attempts.
They're scared, observed Commander Jackson Kim, the ship's tactical officer.
Look at their formation.
They're maintaining maximum sensor range while keeping their most heavily armed vessel in the rear guard position.
This isn't a diplomatic mission confident in its purpose.
This is a reconnaissance probe testing our reactions. Captain Chen finally turned from the viewport, her withered face bearing the expression of someone who had seen too much of space to be easily intimidated. At 55, she was part of the first generation of humans born beyond Earth's solar system, and her experience with hostile environments had shaped her into exactly the kind of leader humanity needed for this moment.
Have we finished our analysis of their technology? She asked. Yes, Captain, replied Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka from the science station.
Their ships are impressive by our standards from about 50 years ago. The materials are advanced, the energy signatures suggest fusion-based power systems, and their weapons appear to be primarily plasma-based with some kind of particle beam backup systems.
Defenses?
Energy shields, relatively sophisticated but operating on predictable frequencies. Our quantum disruptors could penetrate them without significant difficulty if it came to that.
Captain Chen nodded.
The quantum disruptor technology was one of humanity's recent breakthroughs, developed not for warfare but for asteroid mining operations. Like many human innovations, military applications were a secondary consideration to solving practical problems.
They're faster than light drives, she continued.
Fascinating, actually, Dr. Martinez interjected.
They're using what appears to be a spacefolding technique that creates temporary dimensional pockets.
Very elegant, but also very energy intensive.
Our Ensemble jump drives are at least 3 generations more advanced.
Captain, Communications Officer Lisa Park called out, "We're receiving a transmission on the diplomatic frequency.
It's coming through their translation matrix. Put it through."
The bridge's main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of what was obviously an alien command center. The being addressing them appeared to be some kind of crystalline life form, its translucent blue structure catching and refracting the light in mesmerizing patterns. "Greetings, representatives of humanity," the alien's voice came through the translation system with only slight distortion.
"I am Elder Vexera of the Zephyrian Council, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Federation.
We come seeking peaceful dialogue and mutual understanding." Captain Chen stepped forward, her hands clasped behind her back in a posture that conveyed both confidence and openness.
"Greetings, Elder Vexera. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Harmony. We welcome this opportunity for communication."
"Captain Chen, we must speak plainly.
The Federation has become aware of humanity's expansion into this region of space.
We wish to establish diplomatic relations and discuss the possibility of peaceful coexistence." Dr. Martinez leaned close to Captain Chen's ear.
Notice the phrasing. Peaceful coexistence rather than mutual cooperation or joining the Federation. They're positioning this as a negotiation between equals, not an invitation to join their organization.
Captain Chen nodded slightly.
"Elder Vexera, humanity has always believed that the galaxy is vast enough for many forms of life to thrive. We're certainly open to discussions about our respective territories and interests." "We are pleased to hear this," Elder Vexera replied, though something in the alien's tone suggested relief rather than mere pleasure. "Perhaps we could arrange for a more detailed discussion? Our diplomatic vessel could host a meeting. I appreciate the offer, but I think neutral ground would be more appropriate.
There's a dead system approximately 2 light-years from our current position.
We could meet there." Commander Kim raised an eyebrow at this suggestion.
Meeting in a dead system was a classic tactical move. It prevented either side from claiming home field advantage and made surprise attacks more difficult to coordinate.
"That would be acceptable," Elder Vexera agreed after a brief pause. "Shall we say 3 standard cycles from now?" "Agreed. We'll transmit coordinates shortly." The transmission ended, and Captain Chen turned to her bridge crew. "Well, people, it looks like we're about to make history.
Dr. Martinez, I want a full briefing on everything we know about Federation technology, social structures, and military capabilities. Commander Kim, prepare a security analysis of the meeting site and contingency plans for every scenario you can imagine."
"Lieutenant Commander Tanaka, I want to know everything those ships can tell us about Federation science."
"Captain," Dr. Martinez said thoughtfully, "there's something you should know.
During that conversation, I was monitoring the transmission for subliminal data streams.
The Federation ships are conducting extremely sophisticated scans of our vessel."
"What kind of scans?"
"Everything. They're analyzing our hull composition, energy signatures, internal structure, life support systems, weapons capabilities, and drive technology."
"It's remarkably thorough." Commander Kim frowned.
"That's a pretty aggressive intelligence-gathering operation for a peaceful first contact."
"Actually," Captain Chen said with a slight smile, "it's exactly what I would do. They're trying to understand what they're dealing with. The question is, what are they learning?" Lieutenant Commander Tanaka consulted her displays.
"Based on our current sensor masking, they're getting accurate readings on our basic ship systems but nothing on our real capabilities. To them, we probably look like a well-designed but conventional vessel."
"Good. Let's keep it that way for now."
The next 3 days passed quickly as the Harmony's crew prepared for what would be humanity's first formal diplomatic contact with an alien civilization. The chosen meeting site was a system containing a dead star and the remnants of several planets, probably destroyed in a supernova millions of years ago. When the ships arrived at the rendezvous point, Captain Chen was impressed despite herself. The Federation had brought not just the 12 ships from their first contact, but an additional 30 vessels representing what appeared to be their full diplomatic corps.
It was an impressive display of galactic cooperation.
Captain, Commander Kim reported, I'm reading representatives from at least 20 different species aboard the Federation vessels.
This isn't just a meeting, it's a summit.
They're taking us seriously, Dr. Martinez observed.
Very seriously.
The meeting was held aboard a specially configured Federation vessel designed for interspecies diplomacy. The environmental systems could accommodate dozens of different atmospheric requirements simultaneously, and the translation technology was sophisticated enough to handle real-time communication between species with radically different communication methods. Captain Chen led a small delegation consisting of herself, Dr. Martinez, Commander Kim, and Ambassador-at-Large Thomas Blackwood, who had been awakened from hibernation specifically for this meeting. Blackwood was one of Earth's most experienced diplomats, and his presence signaled that humanity was taking this encounter seriously.
The Federation delegation was impressive.
Elder Vexera led the group, but she was accompanied by representatives from species whose very existence challenged human understanding of life's possibilities. Gas beings who communicated through electrical discharges, crystalline entities that thought in geological timescales, and creatures that existed as pure energy contained within magnetic fields. Humans of Earth, Elder Vexera began once everyone was settled in the vast conference chamber, we come before you with both curiosity and concern. Your species has achieved technological advancement and territorial expansion at a rate we have never witnessed. We wish to understand your intentions and discuss how our civilizations might coexist peacefully.
Ambassador Blackwood stepped forward.
Honored beings of the Galactic Federation, humanity appreciates your openness and your desire for peaceful relations. Our intentions are simple: to explore, to learn, and to build homes for our people among the stars. We have no desire for conflict with other intelligent species. Yet your expansion has been both rapid and comprehensive, interjected a new voice. The speaker appeared to be some kind of insectoid creature with multiple limbs and compound eyes. In 200 of your years, you have claimed 17 star systems and established populations that dwarf most Federation member species.
Dr. Martinez stepped forward to respond. Our expansion reflects our species' adaptability rather than aggression. We don't require specific environmental conditions to survive. We can make homes in places other species might find uninhabitable. This adaptability concerns us, admitted another Federation representative, this one a being that appeared to be made entirely of living rock. Species that can thrive anywhere pose unique challenges to territorial agreements. Captain Chen could see where this was heading. The Federation wasn't just seeking diplomatic relations, they were trying to understand whether humanity represented an existential threat to their way of life. Perhaps, she suggested, we should discuss what each of our civilizations wants from this region of space. Elder Vexera's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been approval. An excellent suggestion. The Federation seeks to maintain stable borders, peaceful trade relationships, and the security of our member worlds. What does humanity seek? Knowledge, Ambassador Blackwood replied simply. Our species has always been driven to understand the universe around us. We explore not to conquer, but to learn. We build not to dominate, but to create homes where our people can pursue their own paths of discovery. And if those paths conflict with Federation interests, asked the insectoid representative. Then, we find solutions that work for everyone, Captain Chen said. Humanity has always believed that the universe is vast enough for many different approaches to existence. What followed was 12 hours of the most complex diplomatic negotiations in human history. The Federation representatives probed every aspect of human society, technology, and intentions. They were particularly interested in human military capabilities, though they approached the subject indirectly. Your defensive technologies are quite impressive, Elder Vexera observed during one of the technical discussions. The shields on your vessel operate on principles our scientists find difficult to understand. We've always had to design our technology to handle the unexpected, Commander Kim replied carefully. Space is full of hazards that can destroy a ship in seconds if you're not prepared. Indeed. And your weapons systems? Designed primarily for clearing space debris and mining operations, Captain Chen said truthfully. Though they can be adapted for defense if necessary. What she didn't mention was that human mining equipment was capable of vaporizing asteroids the size of Federation battleships. The negotiations continued through the ship's night cycle. The Federation representatives seemed particularly concerned about human intentions regarding uninhabited systems. They had apparently assumed that most empty systems would remain empty until they needed them. The Federation has always operated under the principle of planned expansion, explained the rock-being representative. We survey systems, evaluate their potential, and allocate them to member species based on need and capability. That's a very organized approach, Ambassador Blackwood acknowledged. Humanity tends to be more opportunistic. We see an empty system that could support our people, and we begin the process of making it suitable for life. Without considering whether other species might have prior claims, the insectoid asked. We always scan for signs of intelligent life or existing claims before beginning any colonization effort, Dr. Martinez assured them. If we found evidence of prior occupation or current claims, we would respect those boundaries. This seemed to surprise several of the Federation representatives. The concept of a species voluntarily limiting its expansion based on the rights of others was apparently foreign to their experience. As the negotiations progressed, Captain Chen began to understand the real dynamics at play. The Federation wasn't just concerned about human expansion, they were terrified of human capabilities. Every question about technology was really a question about military potential. Every discussion about territorial boundaries was really an assessment of whether humanity could be contained. The turning point came when Elder Vexera asked a direct question, Captain Chen, hypothetically speaking, if the Federation decided that human expansion posed a threat to galactic stability, what would humanity's response be? The chamber fell silent. Every representative leaned forward slightly, and Captain Chen could feel the weight of galactic history pressing down on the moment. Elder Vexera, she replied carefully, humanity has faced extinction events before. We've survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, and wars that nearly destroyed our species. We've learned that the best response to threats is not aggressive defense, but creative problem solving. That doesn't answer the question, pressed the insectoid representative. Actually, it does, Ambassador Blackwood interjected. If the Federation viewed humanity as a threat, we would work to understand the Federation's concerns and find a solution that addressed those concerns while protecting humanity's fundamental rights. Conflict is always the least efficient solution to any problem. And if no such solution could be found? Elder Vexera asked. Captain Chen met the alien's multifaceted gaze steadily. Then, you would discover why humanity has never gone extinct despite facing impossible odds repeatedly throughout our history. The silence that followed this statement was profound. In those few words, Captain Chen had acknowledged the Federation's concerns, demonstrated humanity's peaceful intentions, and made it clear that humans were not a species that could be easily eliminated. Elder Vexera's crystalline form pulsed through several color changes before she spoke again. We believe this discussion has been most illuminating. The Federation will need time to consider all that we have learned here today. Of course, Ambassador Blackwood agreed. Humanity is prepared to wait as long as necessary for the Federation to reach its conclusions. In the meantime, we suggest establishing regular communication channels and, perhaps some limited cultural exchanges. An excellent suggestion, Elder Vex_Era agreed. We will contact you within 10 standard cycles with our proposals for formal diplomatic relations. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Captain Chen noticed something interesting. The Federation representatives were not discussing their next moves among themselves as she had expected. Instead, they appeared to be lost in individual contemplation, each species processing the implications of the meeting in their own way. On the trip back to the Harmony, Dr. Martinez summed up what they had all observed. They came here expecting to either recruit us or neutralize us as a threat. Instead, they discovered that we're neither recruitable nor easily neutralized. Did you notice how they reacted when we described our decision-making processes? Commander Kim asked. The concept of individual initiative combined with species-wide cooperation seems to confuse them. It should, Ambassador Blackwood replied. From what I observed, the Federation operates on a centralized decision-making model.
Each species has its role, and the collective makes decisions for everyone. Humanity's approach of distributed authority and adaptive leadership is completely foreign to their experience. Captain Chen stared out at the stars as the Harmony prepared for its jump back to human space. The question now is whether the difference makes us a threat to their stability or an asset to their growth. Based on their questions about our military capabilities, Commander Kim observed, I think they're leaning toward threat. Then, we need to be prepared for either diplomacy or something less pleasant, Captain Chen decided. Dr. Martinez, I want you to prepare a full cultural analysis of every Federation species we encountered. Commander Kim, work with Admiral Torres to develop defensive strategies for our outer colonies.
And, Ambassador Blackwood.
Yes, Captain? Start preparing proposals for integration protocols that might make the Federation more comfortable with human expansion without compromising our fundamental values. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Captain Chen couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just passed some kind of test. The question was whether they had passed it in the right direction. Elder Vexera materialized in the Federation emergency chamber, her crystalline form flickering with the deep red frequencies that indicated mortal terror. Around her, representatives from across the galaxy were appearing through various transportation methods, each bringing news that confirmed their worst fears. Report, she commanded, though her voice carried none of its usual authority.
Admiral Kextai's forearms moved in the gesture of total defeat as his image appeared in the chamber's central holographic display. The Devourers have broken through the outer rim defenses. 17 worlds have gone silent in the past 3 cycles.
Long-range sensors show nothing but expanding clouds of processed matter where those star systems used to exist.
The Devourers. The name itself sent waves of panic through every species in the galaxy.
They had appeared 6 months ago from the void between galaxies, a machine intelligence that consumed matter and energy with terrifying efficiency. Entire worlds were strip-mined to their cores within days, the raw materials converted into more devourer machines that spread like a plague across space.
Our fleets? Elder Vexera asked, though she already knew the answer from the Admiral's posture. The 3rd and 7th battle groups engaged the advance elements at the Kethmori homeworld, Admiral Kextai reported. They lasted 18 minutes.
The Devourer's adaptive capabilities are beyond anything we've ever encountered. They analyze our weapons in real time and develop countermeasures faster than we can modify our tactics.
Elder Mordun's rocky surface crackled with electrical discharges that spoke of computational overload.
My analysis indicates total Federation fleet destruction within 30 cycles at current Devourer advancement rates.
They're not just defeating us, they're learning from each engagement and becoming more efficient. How many refugees are we evacuating? Elder Vexera asked.
7 billion so far, replied Elder Zyxoth, his gaseous form cycling through colors of despair. But, the Devourers are advancing faster than our evacuation capabilities.
We estimate that 63 billion Federation citizens will be trapped in the affected regions.
The chamber fell silent as the scope of the catastrophe sank in. The Galactic Federation, which had maintained peace and prosperity for 3 millennia, faced complete annihilation within a single galactic year.
What about the quarantine protocol? Elder Vexera asked desperately.
If we collapse the hyperspace lanes leading to the core worlds.
The Devourers don't use hyperspace, Admiral Kextai replied grimly.
They move through normal space at near light speed using some kind of space compression technology. Collapsing the hyperspace network would only trap our own evacuation fleets. Elder Moore_Dun's computations reached a grim conclusion.
There is one possibility we haven't discussed.
Every representative in the chamber turned toward the rocky being, desperate for any hope. The humans, Elder Mordun continued. Their technological advancement rates and adaptive capabilities might be sufficient to develop effective countermeasures against the Devourers. The humans, Elder Vexera repeated flatly. The same species we've spent the last 6 months debating whether to treat as a threat or a potential ally. Their expansion patterns and defensive technologies suggest they're already prepared for exactly this type of scenario, Elder Mordun explained. Every human colony is designed to be completely self-sufficient and defensible against unknown threats. Their ships carry enough firepower to sterilize planets, yet they've never used those capabilities aggressively.
Admiral Kextai's image shifted to show tactical analyses of human space.
Intelligence reports indicate that human territories have already been attacked by Devourer scout forces. But, unlike our encounters, the human colonies are still transmitting. Not only are they surviving contact with the Devourers, they appear to be winning. The chamber erupted in shocked silence. A species surviving against the Devourers was beyond the Federation's current understanding of what was possible.
How? Elder Zyxoth demanded. We don't know, the Admiral admitted. Human space is now completely closed to our scouts.
They've activated some kind of defense network that makes their systems impossible to approach or monitor. But, the fact that they're still transmitting on their communication networks suggests they've found a way to fight back.
Elder Vexera's form pulsed as she processed the implications.
6 months ago, humanity had been a potential threat to Federation stability.
Now they might be the galaxy's only hope for survival. What do we know about human defensive capabilities? She asked.
More than we did 6 months ago, Admiral Kextai replied.
After our diplomatic contact, we managed to gather significant intelligence on their technology.
Their quantum disruptor weapons operate by destabilizing matter at the subatomic level.
Their defensive shields don't just deflect energy, they absorb and redirect it.
And, their ships are designed to operate independently for indefinite periods, carrying manufacturing capabilities that would allow them to rebuild their entire fleet from raw materials.
They're not just prepared for war, Elder Mordun observed. They're prepared for the complete breakdown of galactic civilization. The implications of this statement hit the chamber like a gravity wave.
Humanity had developed their technology not for conquest, but for survival in the face of existential threats. They had prepared for exactly the kind of catastrophe now consuming the galaxy.
We need their help, Elder Vexera stated simply. The question is whether they'll be willing to provide it. Given our previous interactions, Elder Zyx_Oth observed, that seems unlikely. We approached them as a potential threat to be managed rather than as equals to be respected.
Then, we approached them differently this time, Elder Vexera decided.
Admiral, prepare a diplomatic mission.
Not as the Galactic Federation offering membership to a junior species, but as refugees seeking assistance from the only power in the galaxy capable of providing it.
Admiral Kextai's arms moved in a gesture of acknowledgement, though his expression suggested he understood the humiliation inherent in this approach.
The Federation, masters of the galaxy for 3,000 years, would be approaching a species they had known about for less than a year to beg for salvation. The diplomatic ship that approached human space 3 days later was unlike any vessel the Federation had ever sent on a mission. Instead of the massive, impressive vessels typically used to project power and authority, they sent a small, unarmed craft carrying only essential personnel. The message was clear: they came not as conquerors or even equals, but as supplicants. Captain Sarah Chan received the incoming transmission aboard the UES Harmony, now stationed at the edge of the Sol defense grid.
The past 6 months had transformed human space into something unrecognizable.
Every system was now surrounded by defensive platforms that could destroy planets, while manufacturing complexes worked around the clock to produce weapons and ships using technologies that had been theoretical just months before. Captain Chen, Elder Vexera's image appeared on the main screen, but her crystalline form looked noticeably dimmer than during their previous meeting.
I request permission to approach your territory under diplomatic immunity.
Permission granted, Captain Chen replied without hesitation.
You can dock with Defense Platform 7 in the Sol system. Thank you. Captain, I must speak plainly.
The Galactic Federation faces extinction. A machine intelligence is consuming our civilization, and we have exhausted our defensive capabilities.
We come seeking assistance.
Captain Chen had been expecting this conversation for months. Human long-range sensors had been tracking the Devourer advance since it began, and military analysts had correctly predicted that Federation forces would be insufficient to contain the threat. Elder Vexera, humanity is aware of the Devourer threat.
We've already been engaged with their advance scouts for several weeks. We know. Our intelligence suggests you've been successful in defending your territories. We need to understand how this is possible.
The meeting took place aboard Defense Platform 7, a massive structure that served as both fortress and factory for the Sol system's defenses. Elder Vexera arrived with a small delegation, but their body language spoke of desperation rather than diplomatic confidence. Captain Shen, Elder Vexera began once they were seated in the platform's conference room. 6 months ago, we met as potential allies discussing territorial boundaries. Today, I come before you as a representative of a dying civilization, asking for help we have no right to expect.
Captain Shen studied the alien diplomat carefully.
The crystalline being's light patterns indicated extreme stress, and her delegation appeared to be struggling with the humiliation of their position. Elder Vexera, humanity has no desire to see any intelligent species face extinction.
What kind of assistance are you seeking?
Military support, Elder Vexera replied simply. Our fleets are gone, our worlds are being consumed, and our people are dying by the billions. We need ships, weapons, and tactical expertise that can fight the Devourers effectively. That's a significant request, Captain Chen observed.
What can the Federation offer in return?
The question hung in the air like an indictment.
The Federation had nothing to offer that humanity couldn't already provide for itself.
Their technology was inferior, their resources limited, and their strategic position compromised.
We can offer knowledge, Elder Vexera said finally.
3,000 years of galactic history, scientific discoveries, and cultural achievements. We can offer gratitude, and the promise that a restored Federation would remember humanity's aid. It was a pathetic offer, and everyone in the room knew it. The mighty Galactic Federation was reduced to offering promises and historical data in exchange for salvation. Captain Chen leaned back in her chair, considering the implications. Helping the Federation would require committing significant human resources to a conflict that posed no direct threat to human space. The Devourers had proven incapable of penetrating human defensive systems, and humanity could simply wait for the threat to burn itself out after consuming the galaxy.
Elder Vexera, may I ask you a direct question?
Of course. 6 months ago, your people debated whether humanity represented a threat to galactic stability.
If our positions were reversed, would the Federation be willing to risk their own people to save ours?
The question struck at the heart of the matter.
Elder Vexera's form dimmed noticeably as she considered her answer. Honestly? Probably not.
The Federation has always prioritized stability and the security of member worlds above all other considerations.
We would likely have concluded that intervention was too risky.
Thank you for your honesty, Captain Chen replied. It makes my decision easier. Elder Vexera's form flickered with what might have been hope or fear.
Your decision?
Humanity will provide full military support for Federation evacuation operations and defensive actions against the Devourers. The relief that flooded through the Federation delegation was visible even to human eyes. Several representatives sagged in their chairs, while others began rapid communications with their home governments.
Captain, why?
Elder Vexera asked. Why would you risk your people for species who might not have done the same for you? Captain Chen smiled, the expression carrying both warmth and steel.
Because that's what makes us human, Elder Vexera. We don't help others because we expect reciprocity. We help others because it's the right thing to do.
And, because a galaxy full of diverse, intelligent life is better than a galaxy ruled by machines that consume everything in their path.
What do you need from us?
Elder Vexera asked. Complete tactical data on Devourer capabilities, detailed maps of their advancement patterns, and coordination with your remaining fleets.
We'll handle the rest. The meeting that followed established the framework for the largest military operation in galactic history.
Human fleets would spearhead the defensive efforts while Federation forces provided support and coordination. Human technology would be shared selectively to upgrade Federation defensive capabilities, while Federation knowledge would help human strategists understand the broader galactic implications of the conflict. As the Federation delegation prepared to leave, Elder Vexera approached Captain Chen privately.
Captain, I must tell you something.
The Federation leadership believed that humanity's expansion and technological advancement made you a threat to galactic order.
We were considering military action to contain your growth. Captain Chen nodded. We know. Our intelligence services are quite thorough. And yet you're willing to save us. Elder Vexera, humanity learned long ago that the best way to deal with potential enemies is to turn them into friends.
A galaxy where the Federation survives and prospers alongside humanity is a galaxy where both our species can thrive. The first joint Human-Federation fleet departed Sol System 3 days later. 200 human vessels accompanied by 500 Federation ships, heading toward the front lines of a war that would determine the fate of galactic civilization. As Captain Chen watched the combined fleet disappear into hyperspace, she reflected on the strange turns of fate that had brought them to this moment. 6 months ago, humanity had been an unknown factor in galactic politics. Today, they were the galaxy's only hope for survival. The Devourers had consumed half the galaxy before encountering a species that refused to be consumed. Now they would learn what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object.
Humanity had spent millennia preparing for threats that might destroy them.
The Devourers were about to discover that some species were very, very difficult to extinguish.
The war for galactic survival had begun, and humanity intended to win it.